Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, ASIATHABIRD. I have a very special guest with me today, a very spectacular guest. Matter of fact, she is a world-renowned dermatologist and founder of innovative hair technology. Please welcome Dr. Melanye Maclin. Hello, Melanie. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Miss Asia. How are you? This is exciting. What are we going to talk about?
This is everything hair, skin, and nails. And I definitely want to shout out to Rock Newman for putting this all together, making this happen.
Absolutely. Rock is my good buddy. Plus, we ate you.
This
is very exciting. I'm happy to do this with you.
It's like, HU,
That's right. And I actually have a daughter there down to Southmore. So she's really getting that HU, feeling and vibe now that they're back on campus, because her first year, freshman year, she was home. So it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia. So that's a art school that I went to. Okay. And also, like, during high school, I took like cosmetology courses and I got my cosmetology license. So I'm also a licensed cosmetologist.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, so that's me. So I want to get on to the beginning. I want to start off with the beginning. So where are you from and how did you get started into the realm of dermatology?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised, came to the Howard University from Chicago at age 16. And basically when I grew up in a family of doctors. My mother's a pediatrician, my father was a dentist. We had a whole bunch of other doctors in our family. And so honestly, Asia, I wanted to be a cosmetologist like what you do. At age 14, when I was talking about that, my mother said, because I used to work in her pediatric offices, like a little nurse assistant or whatever. And I was like, look, I can't deal with these children. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was really heavily loving hair, skin. I said, I want to create products for women of color and I want to focus on our hair loss issues and all that good stuff. So I told my mother I want to be a hairstylist. And she said, no disrespect, baby. We don't do that in our family. You're going to either get an MD degree like me or a dental degree like your dad. So you make the choice. I said, okay, hair doctor. And honestly, it started from there. At like 14, I started researching what it meant to be a hair and skin doctor. My mother started taking me to her friends that were dermatologists in Chicago. So I really started building up my knowledge that this is absolutely what I want to do. So when I came to Howard, I did pre-med. Then I went on from Howard undergraduate to Howard Med School, finished up Howard Med School in 95. I know that sounds old. Okay, I'm not old. I'm still 29 always. But anyway, so I left medical school, went to internal medicine internship at a Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore. And then I went on to dermatology at Washington Hospital Center. And I finished there in June of 99. And from there, I started Innovative Hair Technology, which is my research and development company, specifically for studying nutrients that are effective and backed by science to create effective hair supplements and so forth. Because everybody's always doing this lotions and potions and oils. That's not going to grow down to hair. It's not even getting through the thick dermis, which is where our hair stem cells are. So my focus was the whole inside out approach, Asia, with the nutrients. And I literally was like the pioneer of hair supplements here in the US. And it was a battle because folks weren't trying to hear what I was saying. They were like, oh, is this woman crazy talking about you got to take something by mouth? And I was like, okay, this is 1999, mind you. And I was like, okay, y'all will see. We'll wait. Now you can't walk into any store. You can't turn from any channel and all you seeing is take the hair, skin, and nail challenge, get this latest gummy hair vitamins and all these type of things. Well, humbly saying, I set that trend. And that was like I said, 99. So heck, that was a long time ago. But here we are. And I've just love what I do. And I help people nationally to get those over-the-counter tricks of the trade of what we can do. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody, and I guess, Asia, that was kind of part of my mission too, is that especially for our of color community, many of us don't have insurance, number one. Right. Number two, many of us can't get to a doctor. And if we can't get to the doctor and we don't have insurance, we can't pay the fees to the doctor. So heck, what are we supposed to do? So that's how I created my whole little Ask Dr. Mac platform where I was like, I could give the over-the-counter tricks of the trade, tell folks like what credible supplements or creams or whatever that's at your local drugstore. So at least I can give give folks some semblance of relief until they can actually get to their doctor. So that's what I've been doing for 22 years now. I love it.
All right, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of you working with like different beauty manufacturers, because I know within your bio you work with different manufacturers, L'Oreal and many other companies in terms of building products. So, what does that process? What does that entail?
Well, actually, L'Oreal sought me out. I actually heard from them, and they were working on the developmental phase of like their green bottle line, the Garnier Triple Nutrition. It's pretty bright green, skiwi like Mike. But anyway, they reached out, as a dermatology developer, for me to give my input and creation of that, and that was absolutely amazing sort of experience. And I was part of their launch that was like, I believe it was like June of 2009, because it was a couple of months before the Chris Rock Good Hair movie came out, which I was, the derm expert there. And so, we were trying to do like a little cross promotion and things of that nature. But yeah, working with that team was awesome on that particular project.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. Now, I want to get into Bella Nutri and Beau Nutri, the products that you have out. So tell us about these.
Asia, I have 4 children. I have 2 real baby girls, Kayla, Selena, that are teens. And then I have Bella Nutri and Beau Nutri. Bella Nutri is my supplement for women, for hair and skin. And then Beau Nutri is for men. So I launched Bella Nutri in 2004 and Beau Nutri in 2008. So how I came up with Bella Nutri is, once again, I was always interested in finding credible, effective nutrients that were backed by science to be able to collectively put together an effective formula. And humbly saying, I was able to successfully put together Bella Nutri. Now, I don't know if you've heard of a product called Viviscal before.
I have not.
Okay. Well, we were not really talking about that too much, but that's actually the baseline product that formula rather that originated over in Finland in the Europe area back in the 80s. Okay, and they did lots of studies on nutrients, and so that's actually my beginning, was working with the scientists from Finland regarding that. And that was I did over a year research and evaluation of that particular supplement. I actually became like the national dermatologist to really explode that brand. And I was able to do that. But along the way, I was constantly, adding more effective nutrients to make that formula better. So in other words, if I'm saying, hey, look, take Bella Nutri, and I'm saying, look, I want you to add X, Y, Z. And that's how we were able to pull all that information of research and development together to make Bella Nutri, which is definitely much more advanced and much more effective for us. Okay. But hair from an internal aspect, when it pertains to like growth, it's universal. It's not a black, white, or whatever sort of issue. It's it's neutral, so supplements don't discriminate, nutrients don't discriminate, they work for whomever. And so that's when I was able to get out Bella Nutri, and then I further advanced that formula because we were finding that men were needing a little bit more, higher dosage, okay, and a few more other ingredients because of the type of pattern, with them having the DHT you all commonly hear, which is dihydrotestosterone. That's the active form of testosterone that causes male follicles to shrink and die off. So we added a little bit more things that were DHT blockers to be able to effectively put that formula together. So yeah, men love it. Matter of fact, honestly, Asia, men buy the Beau Nutri by the bundles more than women. Like women, we'll have a ton of products in our, cabinets or whatever. Men, they're loyal. Once they like one thing, they gonna keep going. And that's the greatest testimony that we have with actually both of the products are like that, but that Beau Nutri, these men will get 6 and 12 months supply at a time. And I was like, wow. I mean, so that says a lot because no man is going to be a product junkie.
Mm,
So that's been a wonderful thing. And, the constant reorders is another thing that's near and dear to my company's heart because most people, like, if they don't like something, they're not coming back. And we have
right.
a tremendously high customer reorder rate, which is beautiful. So, and then, when they get on the products,
Mm,
I also make myself available to answer questions, they have, so that then along the way, I feel like they know that I'm very passionate about making sure that they are successful, even though this is not a medication, it's a natural supplement, but still
mm,
I want them to feel warm and fuzzy that there's someone that really does care about, improving their hair and not
mm,
just gimmicks. So when they get Bella Nutri or Beau Nutri, they get me too. You know what I
right.
mean? That I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now I want to get into good hair. I want you to first talk about how did Chris Rock like reach out to you for this documentary called Good Hair? Like, how did that happen?
You know what? Let me tell you, that's nothing but the good Lord above because I never in my entire life, I was like, how am I going to actually be on a silver screen? And so that was an exciting moment. But let me share that story because that is a very cool story. So I actually started working with my buddy Steve Harvey in 2007 on his radio show.
Mm-hmm,
So I would normally travel from Maryland to New York on a weekly basis.
mm-hmm,
And so the times when I would travel there, typically it was on a Monday. So times when I would travel there, I would have my mother who had retired from pediatrics. She would answer my calls during that time.
mm-hmm,
So we're on the train coming back, Asia, and my
mm-hmm,
mother called me with this sense of urgency and excitement. She says, I wasn't going to bother you with all the messages today, but I had to call you about this. She was like, you just got to, I just got a call asking you to call HBO producer about some movie. And I was like, what are you talking about, Mom? I said, let me hop off and let me call. So when I called, it was a producer. And in fact, her name was Jenny, I believe. And so she
mm-hmm,
said, I'm calling from HBO. I work with Chris Rock. He's doing a new movie called Good Hair. The premise behind it is that he really doesn't want his girls to have chemicals in their hair. And what you talked about on the Steve show, he was like, look, this woman hit the nail on the head. Can you find her? And they found me. And I'm on talking to her. And I was like, look, I'm going to be home in like 2 hours and we'll get better reception. I said, let's definitely, I'm open to interview then. And so when I walked in the door, I threw my stuff down, girl, and I was like, look, let me call Judy back. And that was like, wow, like about a 2 hour interview. We talked about everything as far as, just she really wanted to dive in deeply on my knowledge base.
mm-hmm,
And so she was very excited. She says, okay, so stay tuned or whatever. So she calls me back like maybe 48 hours later. It wasn't too much longer. And she was like, hey, we need for you to come to New York to HBO Studios to film with Chris on this date. It might have been like October because
mm-hmm,
this was like closer to the end of September that
mm-hmm,
she called, that she had given me that call. And so it was around early October that they were like, boom, here's your date, be in New
mm-hmm.
York. This is where you're gonna stay and whatever. And it was a wonderful experience, very nervous, but I handle public speaking and all that kind of stuff, pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in there with Chris and literally he asked me everything from soup to nuts on everything. I mean, it was it was at least 4 hours. It was,
Mm-hmm.
like, matter of fact, the transcription people called me after it was over and they were like, oh my God, your transcription is 4 hours. But hey, check this out. You'll probably find this funny because I'm always talking about like this kind of little funny subject, but they were like, they said that the guys, it was a whole bunch of different race guys that were doing the transcription. She was like, Dr. Mac, you'll find this funny. She's like, they had a hard time getting through the 4 hour transcription because they kept trying to figure out what color red that was so they can go get that color for their wives.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it was hilarious. So they actually joked. The HBO folks actually joked with me a while about that. They were like, "We need to find out what that red color lipstick that you have." So anyway, that's my thing. I'm known for my little red stuff. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
even though I'm pink and green, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The first and the finest from HU.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that's how that happened. It was great. Chris was wonderful.
Yeah, it was actually a very great documentary, and I've seen it a few
Mhm.
times. And one of those
Mhm.
times was in my cosmetology course. We actually looked at the documentary, and I
Oh,
wanted to kind of touch on like relaxers because when I was a kid, I remember my dad gave me a kitty perm.
right.
And
Which is, as Chris said in the movie, it's like giving them a kitty bear, okay? Because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
ingredient. Yes.
Yeah. So what is your whole take on relaxers? And is there like a natural like alternative to relaxers?
Right. Well, I'm gonna first say this. It's not as though I am against relaxers. I just say there's a time and a place and a procedure how to properly do a relaxer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll preface what I'm about to say with that. But because the chemical makeup of relaxers, especially there's the sodium hydroxide, which is
Mm-hmm.
the lye relaxers, LYE, and those are only done by professional cosmetologists such as yourself in a salon setting.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the and those really can cause a serious burn within the scalp. So that's why it's only under licensed professionals that can apply that.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody came up with this silly idea to
Mm-hmm.
use no lye relaxers at the drugstores or at the beauty supply stores, which
Mm-hmm.
have calcium hydroxide, lithium hydroxide, or guanine hydroxide. So
Mm-hmm.
those are other hydroxides similar to sodium hydroxide,
Mm-hmm.
but they are not as caustic. They're not as damaging, but they still are in the same lane. And if left on, it can still burn through the scalp, just
Mm-hmm.
like the sodium hydroxide ones, the lye relaxers. And so that's where the big problem with relaxers came in, Asia, is when those got at the hands of a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, they can walk in and buy the perm that says kitty perm, that's the same ingredients pretty much as the adult perm, and they can walk out and go home and play beauty shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no regulations there. So because of the relaxers being such a problem with actually burning out the follicles, you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to burn out your child's follicles before they're even old enough to do their own hair. And so
Right.
that's what has been happening. But more importantly, Asia, it's the what those chemicals were doing, and people not realizing that application in children was adversely affecting the reproductive system. So some folks say, that don't even make sense. How is some relaxer going to affect the women's reproductive system? Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you how. When the scalp has a very rich blood supply. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you're putting on this product that's burning through your scalp. You're feeling something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the nerves run neck and neck with the blood vessels in the body. So if those nerves felt the burn, how do you think the blood vessels are feeling? That the blood vessels are feeling the burn, and they're getting that chemical in the blood supply.
Mm-hmm.
That is in turn causing those chemicals are causing endocrine, which is really like another word for like hormone disrupting chemicals. So now we got our hormone system all jacked up from the
Mm-hmm.
chemical that we put on our scalp that's absorbed deep enough in our scalp to get in the bloodstream. Now we've got these hormone disrupting chemicals that's now causing early menses and puberty. I mean, in puberty before the age of 10, little girls walking
Wow.
around with breasts and butts. I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen, they'd be like, how old are you? And she's like, oh, I'm 6. And you got breast and butt at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got, everybody's heard about women with uterine fibroids. So the chemicals are causing excess growth of uterine tissue. Then we've got a horrible issue of infertility. We got Black women walking around that cannot have children. Back in the day, Asia, pre-chemicals, Black women were having 15 and 20 children. Okay, I'm sure you've heard about those. We've typically had large families. Now, over the last 20 years, it's been tough for women of color to have children. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and so those are the issues. And so you have to think about like, do I want to put this chemical and expose my child this early that could potentially disrupt their fertility in the
Right.
future? And so as I even said on Rock Show, I said I had this thing. It's like, look, calling all moms. Is it straight hair today or grandchildren tomorrow? You make the choice. Are you that concerned about making it easier for you to do your child's hair instead of taking time to do theirs instead of doing yours, instead of focus on yours? You understand what I'm saying? I'm not being any disrespect, but I'm saying, look, just a little bit extra time to deal with hair that's natural, that's non-chemically processed. It does take time, but that's preserving your child's follicles, scalp, for hormonal system, and potentially for having future babies. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say definitely no chemicals to girls until they have reached full puberty, at least at like 18, and so that is why I say no chemicals until at least they've done that. But as you talked about the natural, now there are natural products that can soften the hair pattern. They may not be as effective to fully straighten, because the real chemical perms actually break the disulfide bonds. That's what that hydroxide chemicals are doing. That curly bond is broken, is straightened, and it's permanently straight. There's no such thing as I'm going to like wash this perm out. No, once those sulfide bonds are broken, you cannot pull them back together again. So no mayonnaise and no egg. I'm sure you probably heard all type of like, remedies talking about I'm going, get this perm out of my hair. No, the only way that you can get rid of permed hair is it has to be cut off. You don't have to go for the big chop, but you just slowly start trimming away that permanently straightened hair. You know what I mean? So yeah. So as far as like the natural things, people have tried them. Some of them actually can make the hair a little softer, but it's not going to make it as straight as they would if they were using an actual chemical. So that's the deal there. But outside of that, Asia, people can use heat to straighten hair. But of course, anything overuse is damaging. So someone can be flat ironing the heck out of their hair every day or every other day, and it's looking just as paper thin and on the floor like it would if you were having a chemical. So I just say in general, everything, and just be careful about just what you do. Overdoing anything is inappropriate. So.
Right, most definitely. And I remember when I was younger, I would get like perms here and there, but over a while, I was like, my parents was like, let's keep our daughter's hair natural, and that's what I've been doing like ever since.
Right. Well, but when folks say natural, you can still straighten natural hair. It's just hair in its natural state. It's not been chemically, relaxed or whatever. But ceramic flat iron can straighten that hair as though you had, have it looking like has been relaxed. So, but it's not damaging. It's not, it's not getting through the scalp and causing that adverse damage to the follicles.
Yeah, most definitely. What is your take on like hair dyes, especially like over the counter hair dyes versus like henna type hair dyes?
Right. Okay. So hair dyes actually fall into the same category of potential damage like relaxers. Okay. Because they still have the propensity to absorb through the scalp and cause damage. Matter of fact, there was a recent study that came out from NIH. They had studied women from ages 35 to 74, I believe, like over 40,000 women, and over a pretty large, length of years. And they studied women of all races and nationalities, and they found there was definitely an increased risk of breast cancer in women that use any type of chemicals, that's hair dyes or relaxers. But interestingly enough, the stats showed that in women of color, we were 45% more likely to get breast cancer and an aggressive breast cancer from using hair dyes or the relaxers. So hair dyes are definitely in that similar damaging category. And so when you think about it, a lot of us women of color, we really didn't dye our hair until in recent years. And that makes sense according to the statistics. of the recent research that I told you about 2019, because historically you saw a lot of African American women that were dyeing their hair that
Mm.
also had a high risk of breast cancer. Because matter of fact, I trained at Howard University, and I worked with the prominent breast cancer surgeon, Dr. LaSalle Lafall, and he was like, look, women of color don't get breast cancer. And this was like that was like 92, 93 when I was doing, working with him. And he said that is not a common cancer in us women of color. And you would look at the popular Susan, Komen Race for the Cure, and you see a lot of non-black faces in the early years. But over these last 20 years, there's been a lot of brown and black faces in that race, because there has been an increase of women of color getting breast cancer. So when that study came out in 2019, that really said a whole heck of a lot, because it's saying that, look, now the women of color started adding dyes and relaxers, we really were in trouble, because not only were we using the relaxers, we started to dye hair more frequently. So then consequently, you've got women of color getting an increased risk of breast cancer, an aggressive form at that, and getting it at early age, like in the 20s.
Wow.
Like, I had two girlfriends from Howard that no more than 2 years after we graduated, they had passed away. One was, had pledged with me, and we were like, she passed away from breast cancer. I was like, wow, and that was definitely very, very shocking. So those, chemicals, like I said, relaxers as well as dyes, they can do damage. So it may make you look cute on the outside or whatever, and give you a different vibe or whatever, but you just have to be careful. And I'm not saying that no one should ever dye their hair, relax their hair, but be smart about it. And so I tell folks, look, the scalp, it absorbs these chemicals. So when the boxes of the products are saying just only put some cream around the edges or whatever, no, that was where the mistake was. You got to protect the entire scalp. I tell folks, get some Vaseline, basic Vaseline, white petroleum jelly, coat your whole scalp, the whole scalp, not just the edges, because that's where the problem came in. Folks were going to the grocery store or beauty supply store, picking up their box perm, reading the directions that said it only based the edges. And now you got the whole top of their hair coming out, the back hair coming out from everywhere, because they didn't protect any other part of the scalp except like the edges. So yeah, it's very important. Like I said, first and foremost is making the decision if you even want to start using chemicals, because you have to be responsible about how to use the chemicals to avoid future issues. So yeah, everybody should do their homework, and it's not that pressing. It's nothing better than a good old, ceramic flat iron or some, and using hennas, or vegetable dyes, which are definitely a safer alternative if you're trying to go. Now, they're not going to cover up the gray as well. I understand that, because I get that all the time. But Dr. Mac, my gray is not being covered with this vegetable dye or henna. And I'm like, I get it. So I say, you weigh the risk. You are concerned about your gray hair or your uterine system getting all messed up or developing breast cancer or something worse. So they have to, everybody, they have the right to make their own personal choice, but at least be an informed user of these caustic chemicals is what I say. And there's safe ways to do it, and so that they can still protect themselves.
Yeah, most definitely. Because it's always good to stick to the safe route. You don't want to run the risk of damaging your hair and your overall health.
Yeah, but you know what, Asia, really? There's a lot of people don't care. They're like, look, by any means necessary, I got to look good for the moment. And a lot of people, that's what they live for, the moment. How am I going to look now? I don't care what's going to happen later. Something may not even happen to me later. And they're right. It's their right to make a decision or whatever about whatever. But I just, my role, Asia, has been to just educate, to give folks proper guidance, and then they can make the choice on what they choose to use. But my dear to my heart is really protecting children. So that's really has been my real national platform and movement, like really trying to get these mothers to understand what these chemicals are doing to their children. And now, with all the, fashion hair dyes going on, and pink hair, blue hair, purple hair, and those are still being used now in children. Well, heck, we still applying the caustic chemical to our
Mhm.
children's hair, which is still in that category of potentially causing some problems. So we just have to, be educated moms and guardians and do the best. So my
Mhm.
focus are the children, as you can tell.
Yeah. That's very, very most important. But I also
Mhm.
want to get into also like I remember also learning during cosmetology class about like sewing and weaves and things like that. Because I think some of us as Black women don't realize how damaging those can be, which can cause like
Mhm.
traction
Mhm.
alopecia.
Oh,
So if you
absolutely.
so if you can go over that, that would be great.
Yeah, and it's not even just the sew-ins and so forth that can cause traction alopecia with the braids. It's just regular braids, folks. Just regular braiding hair, knotless braids, any sort of tension on that's pulling at that root, that the hair. It can cause, though, that tension to really cause scarring. Well, first and foremost, cause inflammation around. So
Mhm.
when you feel that tight, because a lot of folks feel like, oh, well, if it's not tight, it's not going to look nice. You know what I mean? So, bear with the tightness. Well, once again, when you feel that tightness, just like when you felt the burn, you know that the nerves were overactive.
Mhm.
So now those nerves around those follicles, from the break, from simply from the tight braid and the pulling, it now has caused inflammation around the follicle. Now we've got potential scarring, and we certainly have a lot of hair shedding when we go to take those braids out. So that's
Mhm.
why, if someone is getting braids, whether it's the sew in or just regular braids, um, they can't do it in a tight fashion, because as soon as you kind of feel the tightness, those nerves are activated, Asia, and you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to aggravate that follicle, and the hair is just going to say, you know what? I told you not to be tight in the first place. And the hair is going to be on the floor when they go take that braid out. Because I mean, matter of fact, when I was at hospital center, a few times I had to go to the emergency room to see a patient, because she came in with a whole thing of hair in her hand from braids. The braids had just literally come out of her hair. Well, that can
Mhm.
happen. You can have so much inflammation around those follicles that they're like, look, I got to go. You, these braids, and so those are real facts. And so the
Mhm.
traction alopecia is the term we use for that. Um, traction alopecia, tension alopecia, all that. But when those edges get hit hard and tight, where then now your hairline is way back here, that's a problem. The hair,
Mhm.
the follicles are very sensitive, that are closer to facial or neck skin. So
Mhm.
all the frontal hairline and all around to the back, that's thinner scalp skin than the scalp at the top. So
Mhm.
people have to really be extra, careful, and fragile with the hairline hairs. So when folks say, "Oh, you got to get it extra tight here," you might as well say bye bye to the hair. And guess what? You might have permanent scarring, so that hair may not ever grow back, which is a real problem. So
Mhm.
that's quite common. I'm sure you've probably seen, some pictures of people, or even people you might know, that had that awful experience. But yeah, they can definitely prevent that. Still braiding the hair, but just not braiding it so doggone tight.
Right.
That's because it definitely can cause not only damage but permanent damage, where that hair will never grow back.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's
Mhm.
so crazy because there are some women that like glue pieces on their hair. There was like a whole scenario where this lady, I think it was on like Instagram or TikTok or something like that, and
Mhm.
she was trying to hold her hair a certain way. And instead of using like hairspray, she used Gorilla
Oh,
Glue spray.
yeah, I know that story well. Yep.
Yeah.
I know that story well. So, first of all, products that you buy in a hardware store or a home-based area of the store and if it don't say hair product lane, those shouldn't be used on the scalp anyway. So that was
Mhm.
mistake number one. But mistake number two is that those glue products, even when you use hair glue, it still has chemical in there.
Mhm.
And guess what? That chemical still has a capability to absorb through the scalp. So, either no matter what kind of glue, I mean, definitely the Gorilla Glue was a whole different animal. But just the hair glue that's advertised and used can be also potentially a problem because it can absorb through that scalp. And then it can also lead to a lot of inflammation and those follicles can shut down. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be careful with that glue. So if someone wants a weave, I say it's safer to get the sew in where the hair is braided down and you can control the stylist and telling her, hey, that's a little bit too tight, loosen it up before she finishes the braid. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
safer way to get the sew in. So not all sew ins are bad. They just need to make sure that that the braids are not put in too tight, and then heck, stay away from the glue, or just do the insta weave or
Mm-hmm.
a wig. But even sometimes with the wigs, the lace fronts, they're still using glue, which is causing a problem. A lot of reactions on the hairline and the forehead area. So that they have
Mm-hmm.
to think about that as well too. It's always some problems with something,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
just choose the lesser of two evils or whatever and figure out what's going to work best for you safely.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
it's all about safety. Now, I want to get into and shift gears about and pertain to skin. So, in
Mhm.
pertaining to psoriasis and eczema, what are some remedies you can recommend in terms of for someone who goes through like psoriasis or eczema or both?
Yeah, well, eczema is a different category. Eczema is what we call like dermatitis on, where the skin gets inflamed for some reason. It could
Mm-hmm.
be, the pollen in the air. It could be the fragrance in products. It could be a whole host of things. It could be some foods that you eat that have aggravated inflammation in the skin. And so when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to eczema per se, which typically can start in childhood, and sometimes folks grow out of it, but sometimes folks don't.
Mm-hmm.
It comes to really trying to figure out like what's triggering that eczema. So
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a challenge that you work with, with yourself as well as talking with your doctor to find out what is stimulating the eczema in the first place. So
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes when you can find that trigger, you can leave that trigger alone, whether whatever type of food that it may be or lotions that you're using, and once that's omitted, then that can get better. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But when it comes to psoriasis, that's a little bit more challenging. It can look like eczema, but it has a more severe sort of skin reaction pattern. And it's a lot more challenging to treat and so forth. And so we still don't have like total cures for something like psoriasis, but there are a lot of different topicals and medications that can actually calm it down. And believe it or not, just going getting some sun every so often in reasonable doses of sun, that is, can actually help conditions like psoriasis and even with eczema. That's why when
Mm-hmm.
folks say, "Look, I need a vacation," so they can get some good old sun. Well, the reason you can go away on vacation and come back looking and feeling glowing because you got a good dose of vitamin D, because that
Mm-hmm.
ultraviolet rays from the sun, you know, splashed down on your skin and stimulated that vitamin D,
Mm-hmm.
and that vitamin D stimulates calcium absorption better in the body and in the skin, and that helps towards healing. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
take a vacation, get some sun.
Mm-hmm.
Is a good treatment pattern for things, especially like psoriasis. Matter of fact, at hospital center when I was there, we used to have patients that came in a couple times a week to get in we would have a specific guided ultraviolet box for
Mm-hmm.
them, treatment box for them to step in there, get their treatment. So it was under supervision that they were getting the ultraviolet treatments 2 or 3 times a week, and it allowed the psoriasis patient's skin to really heal nicely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I also want to get into like I like how you mentioned dermatitis because I had dermatitis at one point. It was like in between like my fingers. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes how you can get dermatitis too is excessive hand washing. And I used to do that a lot. So what happens is you strip the oils off your hands and that
Mm-hmm.
creates dry skin. So and I told my doctor about it and they gave me like a medical type medicine to help
Mm-hmm.
put the dermatitis, or make it go away. So, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's another interesting thing too.
Right, right. Well, and then the other point there is, it's not only the frequent hand washing that's drying out the skin. You also have to look at what are the ingredients that were in the soap that you were using to wash your hands, because that can stimulate uh, the the allergic reaction that you could actually have been having and not realizing. So in those sort of situations, once again, when you get any type of like inflammation on skin, you try to figure out, what am I applying to it? What have I been using? So you pretty
Mm-hmm.
much just stop everything. I mean, you even have to think as far as not only what foods you eating that may be aggravating, what
Mm-hmm.
topical products are you using, but also what laundry detergents are you using? Now these laundry detergents, they got all this fragrance in there. I mean, it knocks me out. I can't do any of that. I mean, I break out, I'm eczema prone if I'm too overexposed to, those
Mm-hmm.
harsh laundry detergents and all those great smelling like fragrance, the fragrance beads that I mean, those,
Right.
they are too pungent. They knocking out not only your respiratory and breathing system, but also they can potentially flare up folks that have a propensity to develop, eczema and the dermatitis of the skin that we're talking about. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyone has those type of issues, stay away from any of those type of fragrance things. Stay away from any fragrance topical products, because really fragrance is like one of the most common reasons for dermatitis. It's the fragrance in products that typically cause the problem. Most commonly, that is. But of course, there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole host of other things. But you have to first and foremost say, if I'm let me check out this product I'm using, and if it has fragrance in there, Asia, that is probably the most likely thing that's causing the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
most definitely. And I remember I used to work at a spa my last year in college, and
Mhm.
I would do like clients nails and feet. And when I do like pedicures and stuff, I would like use like the scrub on the client's feet and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And but then I would wear gloves, because with those scrubs, that just irritates my skin in between my fingers, and that's where it gets inflamed. So I think scrubs can play a part in it too, especially fragrance type scrubs too.
Right, right. And then also the other thing that you have to think about, which you might not have at the time, is if a lot of folks have, what we call like uh dry athlete's feet, dry foot fungus. And they're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, oh, my feet are just ashy and dry. Well, no, your feet may just have foot fungus on there, which
Mm-hmm.
can cause the skin to look very dry and crusty on the feet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you are the manicures or pedicures who's doing this person's client's feet and you're not wearing gloves, of course, you could be transmitting the fungus on their feet to cause hand fungus. And that's something just to kind of think about, because it commonly can get in between the fingers and things of that nature. So I just wanted to throw that out, that can definitely have transference of the fungal elements on the feet to the hand.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, what's your take in terms of, I want to switch gears to nail care. So, what's your take on nail care, especially when women are dealing with like nail enhancements like acrylics or like
Mhm.
gels and things of that nature?
Yeah, just like with anything, as we were talking about, like with chemicals and hair products and things of that nature, everything in moderation. They're definitely women. We like our nails. I mean, heck, I like my nails, but it's you want things to be done properly. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's first of all finding a credible salon that's going to make sure that they're using sterile utensils, because definitely fungus spreads quite heavily in
Mm-hmm.
nail salons, and they're just haphazardly using the tools and getting them, to the next client, to the next client, to the next client. And so now you've got fungus rampant in that salon, and so, it's just being careful how the acrylic is applied as well, and making sure there's no water that seeps into some sort of like little empty spaces up underneath the nail, because then you can get things what we call green nail, or the medical term for that is the pseudomonas bacteria
Mm-hmm.
that causes that green nail sort of process. So
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the acrylic, the gel, or whatever, you want to just make sure you're dealing with a salon that knows what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that they're paying close attention to any sort of empty spaces, and peeling those off, and then properly putting the gel back over or whatever. So yeah, it starts with evaluating the salon or whomever is doing it in the first place, because that's probably the culprit as to why you may be having problems. So
Mm-hmm.
and then also I tell folks, pay attention when they're doing your nails. Don't sit up there like on your phone and you're doing all these other things while they just doing your hands. You see what they're doing so that then if you see some mistakes along the way, they can correct it right away.
Yeah, most
Very
definitely. And like my
true.
focus is on I do nails, like my friend's nails and my mom's nails. And I remember
Uh-huh.
I first got into nails when I was watching my mom. She would always get her nails done at the
So we can have you
salon.
to come to be the mobile the mobile unit over here because actually I have a fellow dance mom that comes and does me and my girls nails, and so that's a nice treat because you have to keep worrying about going to the salon, and you know what you're getting, so
Mhm.
yes, so if she can't ever show up, I'm gonna call you up. Asia, get over here, we need our nails done.
Yeah, I do like manicures and pedicures, and I
Mhm.
remember she used to get her nails done at a salon like a pink and white usually, but
Mhm.
over time like her nails would get brittle, and
Yeah.
it's just sometimes like, and it's also too, I think one thing that people don't consider is like the stuff that's in the acrylics, which is MMA, which isn't very good for the nails of the skin. That's actually illegal to put
Right.
in those nail products. So I
Mhm.
think, and also to nail prep too, I think is very, very important. So it's not always the product, but it's also how the person preps your nails to help make those enhancements
Absolutely.
last.
Yes. All great points. Yes. Yep. So see, that's why you're educating, you're educating the public and then also you're educating your clients so that then you hope and pray that then they share that information to the next because that's absolutely right. I mean, if the foundation of anything is not right, even with when people are using like chemicals on the scalp, if the scalp is all red and inflamed and has all this rash, why are you putting chemicals on there? So it's
Right.
the same thing. It's like you need to have start with a healthy foundation of the nail bed, just like the same healthy foundation of the scalp before you go putting on any of that stuff because it's when you have areas of damage, those areas are just going to even get further damaged when you're applying those chemicals on top.
Mhm. Yeah, most definitely. I think nail prep is very, very important. And that's what I try to work on is to make
Mhm.
sure I prep the client's nails properly so that, whether I'm putting on gel or like regular nail polish, like for manicure or pedicure, it lasts
Mhm.
a good amount of time. So I think that's very, very important.
Mhm.
Now, what is your whole take in terms of just like remedies in terms of dealing with like nail psoriasis or like brittle nails or any type of like nail fungus?
Well, I mean, those type of now when you call dealing with like nail fungus, it really, even though they have these wonderful so-called topical treatments, because nails start from the inside out, you really have to treat nails from the inside out with an oral medication.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, these topical gimmicks and remedies, they're not effective for really killing that fungus. That fungus lies deeply in the keratin layers of the nail, and and the only way to really get to the meat and potatoes of killing off the fungus is an oral medication. And so that does
Mhm.
require you to go to a dermatologist or talk to your doctor about it, and they would be able to refer you to a dermatologist. But that does require a medication, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So the bleach, putting your feet or hands in bleach or whatever vinegar, those are not, unfortunately, they're not effective for killing that fungus. And so it could be something that you end up living with and
Mhm.
causing those nails to be more brittle and crumbly, and they start getting yellow and they can start coming out and coming off. So it does
Right.
require medical evaluation and treatment.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely.
So unfortunately, no real natural. Everybody wants to do it yourself. I get it. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'm the queen of giving folks over the counter tricks of the trade. But when it comes to something like that, there's really no way around like an oral medication to really kill off the fungus.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, what is your whole take in terms of like the beauty industry, especially the products that are out now on the market?
Oh, it's millions of products in the market. So, it's hard to say because everybody's got the next best product that they put out there. So it really just depends on the actual product, and for people to, I tell people just like they go to the grocery store and they'll look at the back of the ingredients of products at the grocery store. Well, we should do the same when you're going to shop for beauty products.
Mhm.
Don't just be fooled by the label. Turn just like the kitty perm. Everybody's fooled by they look like, oh, this is my kitty perm, whatever. But they turn the back of the box and look at the ingredients, and it's a lot of harsh chemicals in there. And so that's the main thing. The take home point is when you go to pick up any beauty products, whether in the store or online, go always to the ingredients and look at some of that stuff and make sure that this is safe and that heck that you may not have an adverse reaction to it. So that's the most important. Don't just get stuck on the pretty front label. Turn to the side or the back label or whatever and make sure you read and you understand what's in there, to make sure that you can try to reduce your risk of having any problems, especially when it comes to like facial products, because the face is thin skin, the face can have, more allergic reactions because of the thin skin, than the rest of the body, like especially the eyelid areas, the thinnest skin on the face and really the thinnest skin on the body. And so a lot of folks using these eye creams and fancy things like that, they're causing more harm than good by stimulating like potential allergic reactions around the eyes because they didn't read that, that using it too often or too close to the eye itself can cause problems. So read the ingredients and make sure that it's going to be a safe option for you.
Most definitely. And I think also too, I think we should also consider having more Black owned beauty supply stores because, and especially with our own products.
They were right. Well, I don't know if you know the story about that, but that all started as they were preparing for the massive weave industry. And what I mean by that is because a lot of the hair comes from, the hair comes from India, all hair universally. When you hear folks say Peruvian and Malaysian and Bahamian and all these things, all hair that's weave hair is Indian hair, comes from India, and the Koreans get the hair, China manufactures it into the bundles, and then the Koreans come here and import it to the US so they can put it in our beauty supply stores. So they were like, look, we need more beauty supply stores. So naturally it was, they would come into a Black owned beauty supply store and be like, look, how much you want for the store? Well, we may get excited by a $200,000 or $300,000 dollar sign thinking, oh man, I'm rich. And they bought your whole business out. Now you're not any longer Black owned. Now the Koreans own it. And then now how are you going to get it back? So that was happening as a natural sort of thing across the entire country. And so now we have a lot of folks like, we got to get our Black beauty supply stores back or whatever, but it's less likely that they're going to sell them to us. You follow what I'm saying? Unless you start something brick and mortar on your own. But that's the way that process happened, Asia. They wanted places for, especially the weave, because that was the big deal. All the other products, those are just like little accessories. They needed the beauty supply stores to have weave product so that people, mainly us, can walk in and get the hair weaves. That's how that started.
Yeah, most definitely. And especially another thing too, I seen a documentary about the beauty industry, about the beauty supply stores, and like the people that own it would have like these hair books, but they would be like in Korean, so you wouldn't read it. So like that's another thing I feel like certain beauty supply stores try to do, like have these hair books, especially with a Black model with like straight hair, and it would just have like writing in another language, so I think it's also kind of like keeping the information from us a little bit within our industry.
Of course, that's not even a little bit, a lot of it. Right. The less informed we are, the better. They're like, look, all I need for you is come in here and buy these weaves, buy these bundles, and so that's the trend. That's why there's like a beauty supply store in every corner in most cities in the US. That's not owned by us, unfortunately, but it was mainly for the purpose of making it easily accessible to get the hair weave products.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, like I said, how, we should all have our own beauty supply store. Like some Black women, there's like a one business called Cova Beauty, which is a Black owned beauty supply store. So I think if we continue that trend of owning our own beauty supply stores with our own products for us, I think that would help us in terms of within our beauty, and supporting each other too. And that's the thing, considering that the beauty industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a huge industry.
Right. We just have to have more of us that want to have that entrepreneurial spirit, because many of us gave up those salons, like I said, years ago. So now we need more, folks of color to be entrepreneurs and get back into that beauty space of getting, getting the salon, getting the beauty supply stores and so forth. But, it's like I said, real estate is tough. It's tough to find like where can you even set up shop anymore, because the others took over. So yeah, we can get our own store, but then where you gonna put it? Because we sold out those spots years ago. So that makes it a challenge to now try to get Black-owned beauty supply stores back up, because the ones that we had before are run by other folks now. So it's also trying to find the right space.
Yeah, most definitely. Now I want to get into, like, you've been on different like media platforms such as Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Fox. Now, how important is it to continue educating the masses about, in terms of how to take care of not only their hair, skin, and nails, but their overall health?
Right. Well, it's definitely been my passionate platform, honestly, Asia, for years. Each year I always try to say, Melanie, how long are you going to continue this? Because, I do other things. I do a lot more product development, and, I have two girls that are as a competition mom, and now one in college, and, there's other things that I do. And so it's funny that you asked that question, because I actually, my birthday is March 4th. March 4th, my father, as I was growing up, he's always say, that's the only day of the year that means something. He says, baby girl, promise me on March 4th, you March 4th, and do something special for yourself, personally or professionally or whatever. And so sometimes, in these last 5 years, I'm like, okay, here comes March 4th. What am I going to do? And I was like, you know what? This March 4th, I may say, hashtag Ask Dr. Mac has officially retired. And your new hashtag would be Ask Your Own God Darn Doctor. Okay. Because I'm telling you, Asia, I love what I do. I really do. And I love people, and I love helping. My platform has been providing free information. I don't get paid for doing this. And it's just been something that's been a real serious passion for me, that I guess that's probably why it's challenging to give up, because it's hard to give up something that you're passionate about, but you can't get tired and fall back a little bit. And I think that's going to be my 2020 mission. I'm still going to continue, educating, and doing different media things as I'm asked, but maybe not as much, because I have other personal things that I'm doing for me and in business, and with my girls and everything. So yeah, I'm gonna stick around, but I might I definitely gonna have to fall back, because boy, because anytime you have an opportunity that, whether it's talking on radio or TV or writing in a magazine, you're gonna have people that's coming at you to ask questions, because I'm saying, ask Dr. Mac. And I love answering the questions, but it can get overwhelming. Like I would get off the Steve show and have over 1,000 emails every Monday.
Wow.
And it would be a little frustrating when I would get an email from someone saying, Dr. Mac, I haven't heard back from you. And it's literally only been like 24 hours since they sent the first email. So I was like, whoa, people will wear you out. And I said, look, I'm not going to let these people wear me out. So that's why I said, as the years go on, I'm not doing as much, because people will wear you out. And I'm not going to, I have to take control of, my space and time, where I can just relax with my children and my other things that I have to do, my husband and stuff. So yeah, but that'll always still be a major part of me, because that's a very passionate part of my life, is to provide that outlet, because I know that people are getting misinformation or no information. And beauty questions as it pertains to hair and skin is so important to a lot of people.
Mm,
So I like to say, instead of going to like Dr. Google, they can go come ask Dr. Mac for free for me to just be able to give you some little credible tidbits. And it makes me feel good that I've helped them. And then they share that information with other people. So you get this trickle down effect of just constantly, people hearing the proper way to do things when it comes to your hair and your skin. And so that makes me feel great for the legacy that I'll be leaving for that, for people knowing like, wow, this woman really did care about helping us with our hair and skin.
yeah, most definitely. Now, how
Mhm.
would you define success?
Well, I would start off saying, look, it's a mind thing. You have to start in your head and say, which I teach my girls and my husband, we all have this model. Success is our only option. There's no other option. And it starts with the mind. It starts with children at an early age before they can even talk about you're going to be successful, imparting that word in and ingraining that word into our children's brains, Asia, at an early age, I feel can ultimately make them truly successful because they've
Mhm.
been taught, that's all my children have heard since they came out the womb is success is their only option. There is no other option. So by any means necessary, what is it that we need to do to obtain that success? And part of that I'm a really big proponent and advocate for, Asia, is I believe in mentorship. Like I have tons of mentees that are high school trying to get into college trying to get into professional schools like medical schools, or medical students trying to get into residency. I have all different level of mentees because I believe like they have to have someone to help them along to be successful.
Mhm.
They Not everybody can do everything nobody can do anything by themselves.
Mhm.
It takes someone who's done
Right.
it before to show you how you're going to get to your next step. So
Right.
success is a mindset that starts at birth, Asia, period.
Mhm.
And then so like I said, at birth, my children know success is their only option. And that's just how we roll in our Maclin Carroll household. And I, teach my other babies and mentees the same thing. So there you have it. That success is having a successful mindset. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that because it's funny how you say
Uh-huh.
it, because that's what dad tells me. Like,
Mhm.
and of course, success is the only option. Like,
There's no other,
there's
no.
no other way. There's no
We're
other
not doing
option.
anything negative. We've got our mind set on being successful by any means necessary, period.
Mhm.
So
And that's a
whatever that takes.
Yeah, and also too, like with any successful person, you should always credit the people that have helped you too, because like how
Mhm.
you said, no one does it by themselves.
That's right.
you know.
Mhm.
And I didn't do it by myself, because of my parents. They molded me to the way that I am, and I'm
Mhm.
25. So,
Mhm.
so if it was for my parents, I wouldn't be here. So, but yeah, team is everything.
Yeah, that's right. And so I have, a lot of, my mentees that have very successful parents, but quite frankly, they're working on their careers, they're busy, they're doing a whole bunch of other things, just trying to maintain the household. They may not have as much time to allocate to, teaching their children X, Y, and Z or whatever. And so, this is where I step in and be able to, give my tidbits whenever I can, and at least they know they have somebody else is out there that cares. I care about, making kids successful. And
Mhm.
I say each one teach one. And so success is our only option, period. Nothing else.
Yeah, most definitely. But
Mhm.
also I think too, within that success, I think we should all consider, especially us as Black people, in terms of the importance of mental health too.
Yeah,
Because I think that's very important, especially along when you're trying to be successful, is maintaining mental health and self-care. So I think that's important too.
right. No, absolutely. That's critical because if your mind is not right, you can't do anything else. Your brain controls your entire body from the
Mhm.
inside out. So get your mind right. It helps to get your body right, helps to get your career right, everything. So that is the premier thing to focus on is making sure that indeed that you protect your mental health. And if you are feeling, a little overwhelmed and feeling like you're going through some crisis, that's why there's tons of people to actually go and get therapy. And so that's been a real issue, especially in our of color, sort of sector. We think it's a faux pas to, you know, say go to a therapist or whatever. Like, no, it's nothing wrong with you, and so we just kind of downplay it. And that's not the right thing, because the brain is an organ, just like every other part of your body, and the brain gets sick. And you have to read and recognize and let folks know. That's why we have, therapists out here, be a psychologist, or you may need to go to an actual psychiatrist that actually can, prescribe you medications that can get those neurotransmitters in the brain back balanced, because that's really the primary problem, is the neurotransmitters in the brain go haywire. So you need to get that in balance, and then you're better. But at first you have to really recognize that you have a problem and be willing to go talk to somebody and go get treatment, and think that, oh, I can just do this by myself. No, because when those like I said, the brain's an organ, and if those hormones are off balance in the brain, it's going to continue to degrade. So the sooner that you learn that you're having an issue, the sooner that you can get some treatment, and the sooner that you can get better. So understanding that if you're ignoring it and you're in denial, you are going to get worse, period.
Yeah, most definitely. Last but not least, where can people find you on social media, and how can people support you and your products?
Yes, well, my website is dr.maclin.com or askdrmac.com. So, drmaclin.com or askdrmac.com. I got a whole bunch of websites, they funnel to one, so ask Dr. Mac or drmaclin.com. On social media, I have a Facebook page, Dr. Melanye Maclin. Same thing on LinkedIn and Twitter. So, as well as, I don't really do a lot. I know everybody's thing is this Instagram. I guess I have so many other things to do, Asia. Last thing I can do is look on another social media where somebody's trying to ask Dr. Mac something. I'm like, wow, this is just too overwhelming. But anyway, the best thing is really reaching me through my website, because it's an area where you can ask your question and submit that, and I answer. But don't come emailing me within 24 hours and ask me why I haven't answered you yet, okay? Because you just might get deleted this time. I told you I used to have people like getting on me like, you didn't. I said, really? I just was on air like less than 24 hours, and you're getting on me, and I'm giving you advice for free? Are you kidding me? So yeah, that was a little thorn in my side for some folks that would take that action. And then once I finally got to them, I did have to set them straight to be like, look, I love helping you and love answering your questions, but heck, I'm but one person, and I can't have somebody else, responding to their question, and so anyway, it's all good. But yes, I look forward to your viewers. They can, like I said, reach me through askdrmac.com and or drmaclin.com without the K. So that's drmaclin.com. And happy to help your audience. And I definitely appreciate meeting you, via your lovely, interview, Zoom. And definitely keep me posted on your platform. And if I can help in any other way, I'm always happy to do that too.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your knowledge, and especially educating me more about it.
A lot of information, right? I think so. I don't even know what time it is, but you'll have enough information to pick apart to make it, however, for you to do what you do with the information that I provided. So look forward to definitely staying in touch, and keep up your great work, because success is your only option too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No question, right?
No questions, nothing less. So yeah, but I definitely want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Rock Newman. Rock Newman, thank you so much for
my Pisces buddy, my HU. Mr. Rock, that's my friend. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and take care.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Keep up the great work. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also follow me on my social media platforms and visit my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care and stay beautiful.